At the National Hurricane Center in Miami, forecasters were watching this weather disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico for any signs of trouble. They scan the real-time high-resolution images streaming from a satellite 23,000 miles above Earth and onto their computer screens. When a tropical storm explodes into a hurricane, the men and women here work overtime, briefing the media, alerting the public, and hopefully saving lives. Daniel Brown, senior hurricane specialist at the center, said the 2019 season is expected to be an average year. But all it takes, he said, is one major hurricane to turn an average season into a devastating one. And there have been plenty of those.
You know, the last few hurricane seasons, we've seen a lot of devastating storms, the Harveys, Irma, Maria. Last year we had Florence and Michael, and Florence and Michael both brought different hazards. Florence was not only storm surge and inland flooding threat, in fact it set record rainfall amounts in both North and South Carolina, but then we had Michael that had not only a devastating storm surge, but those very strong winds, Category 5 hurricane that brought those winds inland.
The most dangerous and often deadly part of a hurricane is not the wind, but the water, specifically the storm surge. That's the surge of water pushed on shore by the hurricane that can range anywhere from 10 to 15, 20, even 30 feet above sea level, flooding out cities like, for instance, downtown Miami during Hurricane Irma back in 2017. As the population of the United States has increased, so has the size of cities and communities along America's coastline that have been pummeled by hurricanes, costing hundreds of billions of dollars in the last 3 years alone. The effects of global warming and climate change are being blamed for an increasing pattern of destructive hurricanes. Essentially, that warmer sea surface temperatures and rising sea levels are fueling more intense storms.
I think a couple things to be concerned about regarding hurricanes and warmer climate. One is the higher level sea level. The sea level is just a little bit higher already, which is could exacerbate any storm surge that you get. Another thing could be just a wetter climate, more heavy precipitation. We've seen that in the last couple of years. Not saying that's exactly what's happening, because you really can't take one or two individual events and tie it to climate change. But there are studies that suggest we could see more rainfall, more heavier rainfall.
In the early part of the hurricane season, forecasters scan the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean for any signs of a disturbance.
But as we get later in the season, we start looking further east, where we see our tropical waves that develop over Africa and move off the African coast. And then as the hurricane season gets near the peak is when the waters get warm enough to help sustain those disturbances. And then if the upper level environment is good, we can actually start to see those systems begin to form.
Ready or not, it's likely there will be more storms again this year. The question is how bad they will be. That's why forecasters are urging people to be prepared for the hurricane season, stocking up on essential supplies like water, gas, and non-perishable food. In the meantime, the National Hurricane Center will continue to keep an eye on the radar for anything that may be brewing out to sea and ready to churn towards the United States. For RT, John Huddy.